Okay, so yesterday we talked about how you can predict what you're going to learn or read in nonfiction if you know the structure. If you know the structure, you kind of know how to go into the reading part of it. So we talked about expository yesterday, and we talked about how expository basically is just giving you facts. Okay? One of the things that I kind of forgot to talk to you guys about yesterday when you're taking notes, and I want to make sure that you're really clear on this today, is that you do not copy the words out of the book. What you do is you read the information, and then in your very own words, you write it in the book. Because if you copy the words out of the book, you're technically copying the author, and that's breaking copyright. Okay? So I was thinking about this whole idea of this expository giving us facts, and I think expository would work really well to do boxes and bullets. Okay, and you guys use boxes and bullets all the time in writing, right? Mm-hmm. With expository, we're going to get a big idea and then our supporting details. Okay? So, boxes and bullets work really well for expository. So if we think back to that book yesterday about the penguins, we thought the big idea was that penguins are different from other birds. Penguins are different from other birds. They do not fly. They have short, stiff wings. They spend most of their time at sea. And you don't even have to write complete sentences. You just write your thoughts down. So when you go back to write your report, you have the information there and you're ready to go. Most of the time when we're reading nonfiction is to learn new information. Okay? Well, narrative nonfiction. Narrative nonfiction. Narrative nonfiction is the retelling of a true story in which the series of events come to life. Take one and pass them, leave the extras at the back. I want you just to follow along as I read through this. So narrative nonfiction is a retelling of a true story in which a series of events comes to life. It tells about real people, animals, places, or events. It is told in story form. When you pick up a nonfiction book, the first thing you could do to figure out if it's expository or narrative is think to yourself or ask the question, is this told like a story? Does this have a character? Is this told like a narrative story with I as being the character? If it's told like a story, immediately you have to know that it's narrative nonfiction. It gives facts about the subject, just like expository does, only the facts are woven into the story and you have to be able to find the facts while you're reading the story. Okay? It usually describes events in chronological order. This, and then this, and then this, or first, next, then, finally. And it may include the author's opinions or feelings. So in narrative nonfiction, authors can often include their own opinions or feelings. So I'm thinking a structure that would work really well for narrative nonfiction is boxes and arrows. This happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, right in the order that they actually happened. Okay? More like a timeline. It's like a story mountain. It kind of goes in an order, but story mountains go up and down, and this is just this, and then this, and then this. Okay? It's story mountain. It's the order of the story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those kind of books would work good for that, right? narrative nonfiction. So I'm gonna start reading a narrative nonfiction book. Another thing that I've been thinking about with this idea of narrative nonfiction, and we didn't do close reads before this year a whole lot, is I think using that strategy of a close read would make narrative nonfiction a little bit easier also. And my thinking behind this, and it worked really good this morning, is read it one time through, and as you're reading, think, but then go back through and close read and pull out the details that are the most important to put in the box, because we can't put everything in there. So just like a close read, we would read it more than once. The first time just to kind of get the idea, the second time really closely looking for the details. Okay? So I'm going to read a dinosaur named Sue. I'm just going to read the first part of it. First part's just an introduction. There is a place in North America where rolling hills and tumbling cliffs cover the land. In the summer, temperatures soar to over 100 degrees. Dry, dusty winds blow. In this place, western South Dakota, Susan Hendrickson camped out with her dog, Gypsy. It was the summer of 1990. Susan had been living in a tent for 6 weeks. Every day she worked outside in the blazing sun. Why would anyone choose to do that? Susan is a fossil hunter. South Dakota is one of the best places in the world to find fossils such as dinosaur bones. Susan was with a group of fossil hunters from a company called the Black Hills Institute. The group had spent most of that summer digging up duck-billed dinosaurs called Edmontosaurus. Summer was almost over. Everyone was tired and ready to go home. With just 2 days left, the group woke up to a thick fog. They could hardly see. The air was cool and still. There is never fog in South Dakota in the summertime. It was such a strange day, Susan recalls. This unusual day ended up being more amazing than anyone could have imagined. It's sort of like a story, isn't it? Okay. So, when I think about this, just that section, and it's the introduction or the foreword, I'm getting some pretty important facts out of there. I'm not even going to draw the box first because I want to make sure I have plenty of room. If I draw my box, then I don't have room, then I have a problem, right? So, 19, I'm going to go do my close read now, go back and find my information. 1990, Susan Hendrickson. Make sure I spell her name right. Room on that side. 1990, Susan Hendrickson. In this box, I'm just putting things to help me remember. Fossil hunter. And I'm going to put South Dakota. So far, I think that pretty much is what I got from that. Okay, I'm going to keep reading the next part. It all began with a flat tire. The tire on the group's truck had to be fixed. There's no getting around in the rugged area of South Dakota without good tires on your truck. Susan decided to stay behind while the others went to town to get a new tire. She was thinking about the cliffs across the valley. The group had carefully searched most of that area, but not all of it. There was one place I really wanted to go, but there had been no time. We'd been so busy, Susan remembers. This was her chance. Susan and Gypsy set off across the rocky area. They hiked 7 miles for more than 2 hours through a thick fog. By the time they got there, the fog had burned away. Susan did what fossil hunters always do when searching cliffs. She walked around the bottom first. She looked for bones that might have fallen down. She watched for the dull brown color of fossil bones among the gray rocks. After 15 minutes, she hadn't found anything. Then, Susan says, all of a sudden, I saw a couple of 2-inch pieces of bone, and a bunch of little broken bone pieces. She looked up to see where the bone had come from. 8 feet above, more bones jutted out of the cliff. Susan climbed up for a closer look. She saw 3 huge backbones, a rib bone, and a leg bone. Because the broken edges of the bones were sticking straight out of the cliff, Susan could tell there were more bones inside. So But these ones were sticking out here, and she's thinking there's more in there with dirt on top of them. I have never found more than small parts of T-Rex before. Some teeth, a couple of small pieces of bone, so I was really excited, Susan recalls. Susan looked closely at the bones. They were hollow. Dinosaurs that ate meat, called carnivores, had hollow bones. Plant-eating dinosaurs, called herbivores, didn't. So this was a carnivore. And these bones were huge. I knew the only large carnivorous dinosaur that lived in the area was Tyrannosaurus rex, says Susan. And I thought, wow. At that time, only parts of 11 other Tyrannosaurus rex had ever been found. Susan picked up 2 pieces of bone, and she hurried back with Gypsy at her heels. She showed all the others and told them what she had seen. They all agreed there was a T-Rex buried in those hills. They decided to name the dinosaur Sue in honor of its discoverer. Almost 30 feet of rock on the top of the skeleton had to be cleared away before all of Sue's bones could be uncovered. But some of the people in the group had to go home. That left only 3 or 4 people to do an enormous job. Using shovels, picks, and crowbars, the group got to work. From dawn to dusk, 13 hours a day, they chipped and dug and broke away the cliff. They pushed 100-pound pieces of rock down the hill with their hands. The temperature rose to above 120 degrees. The diggers were exhausted, but the excitement of what they hoped to find drove them on. Soon, the jumble of Sue's bones was exposed, and the group quickly realized how unbelievable this Tyrannosaurus rex was. Almost all of the bones were there. Most dinosaur skeletons that are found are missing many, if not most, of their bones. The creature's skull was the size of a refrigerator. Most of the teeth were set in its jaw, some 12 inches or longer from the root to the tooth tip. Its right front arm was there. One of only 2 T-Rex arms ever discovered. 36 tailbones circled around the remains, one of the most complete T-Rex tails ever found. Often, fossil bones are chipped or broken apart. Sue's bones were perfect, nearly perfect. To top it off, Sue was huge. It was really amazing, says Susan Hendrickson. She keeps getting better and better. We were all in shock. You can't ever dream of finding something so good and so big. This is the find of a lifetime, the largest and most complete T-Rex ever found.
Is it still today? Do they still have it today in like a museum?
Okay, stop. This book's here, and you guys can read it, and I know it's not in your level, but since you're interested in it, you're more than welcome. What I want to do right now is I want to think about this idea of a close read now, knowing that I've read the whole thing and I've got a pretty good gist of what that first chapter was about. I'm going to go back now and pick out some important stuff. I know the introduction told us who she was, and she was a fossil hunter, and they were in South Dakota. What? She found some bones. 8 feet, or sticking straight out of a cliff would probably be good, huh?
Yeah, found bones sticking out of a cliff.
You know what I'm going to include in that? That really important detail, because I didn't know how she knew it was T-Rex until I read about the bones. She found hollow bones sticking out of a cliff. Hollow means heaving. Okay? Let's see. They went back and they worked from dawn till dusk. Oh! They knew it was a T-Rex. And named it Sue after Susan. I think that's pretty important.
Because of how they found it or something?
No, Susan found it. A nickname for Susan is Sue. They named it after the lady who found it. Okay, so I'm going back through now. I'm doing more of a close read. I'm skimming. The hard part with narrative is you have to skim and pull it right out of the text. With expository, there's often sidebars and things that help you find the information. The headings help you because it breaks it into sections. Narrative nonfiction's a little bit harder, but I think this idea of boxes and arrows and kind of combining that with what you guys have learned about close reading and to read it one time and then to go back and find the really important stuff will really help you be able to get notes. Now, did I copy the words out of the book?
No.
Mm-mm.
Put them in your own book.
I put it in my own words, because if you copy, you're breaking copyright law, okay? So, this is what you have to do today. I want you to think. Am I gonna go back and read an expository text, or do I have a narrative that I wanna try this with? After you've decided which text you have to be able to make the decision. It should be a pretty easy one. Once you know what kind of text, then you know whether it's going to be boxes and bullets or boxes and arrows, right? So you're going to turn to your partner when you know. If it were me, and this was my book, I'd say, I'm going to finish reading Dinosaur Named Sue, and so it's narrative. So I know I'm going to be doing boxes and arrows. That's all you have to do. So let your partner know what your plan is and what you're going to do. Boxes and bullets, boxes and arrows. Narrative nonfiction, expository nonfiction. Get in your brain what you want to do. I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about it. Turn knee to knee.
Martin,
What?
can you read the Dinosaur Named Sue?
Yes, I already said that.
I'm going to read.
Anybody need more think time? Well, partner 2, tell partner 1 what you're going to do.
I want to do boxes. I'm going to do boxes and bullets from boxes.
So what structure are you going to use?
I'm gonna finish everything and I'm gonna
Back to me. Okay, I think you all have a plan. When you get through today, you're going to get with your partner and you're going to show them your notes that you are taking as you're reading. So if you're using boxes and arrows, it's going to look something like that, or boxes and bullets. Okay? Off you go.